Okay, so I'm going to try and do another one of those top 5 lists. In this case, it's going to be my top 5 knife brands. Now, this is going to be a little tricky for me because I have well over 100 different brands represented in my collection. Probably closer to 150 out of the 6 or so hundred knives that I have. So as you can tell, I collect quite a variety of knives, and which means I have them from several different companies. But I'm going to try and limit that down to my top 5. Now, part of that will obviously be the ones that I collect the most of, but that's not always the case when it comes to a favorite. Sometimes my favorite is a knife that I really don't have a lot of, but it's still, I like that brand. So we'll see how this turns out. I'll tell you right now, the first 4 is pretty easy. It's that last one that becomes really tricky for me. I guess I should flip this camera around and get started. Okay, first up it's going to be Camillus. First knife I ever bought was by Camillus. I don't have it, I traded it, but I have this one, which is very similar to the very first one I bought. A milk knife, military knife, MIL-K818, whatever you want to call it, the demo knife. You know, it's just a 4-blade camp knife with the stainless steel sides. And one of the first knives I ever bought with my own money. And since then I've been buying other Camillus knives, such as the fish knife, and here's an office knife. I'm not going to show every one of them I've got. I've got well over 60 Camillus knives, and everything from fixed blades to every kind of pocket knife imaginable by Camillus, at least pre-2007. I have a few after 2007, but really the Camillus I'm talking about is the one that met its demise in 2007. The new Camillus, great company. I'm not going to bash it or anything, but now it's really Acme United that owns it, and they basically own the trademark to a former great company. So it just doesn't seem to be the same thing as the original Camillus that was around throughout the 20th century all the way up to 2007. Loved the company, loved their product. They were the knife maker's knife maker. They helped win World War II. Camillus is just definitely one of my favorite brands, especially the pre-2007 Camillus. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, next up would be another USA made company, and it's one that did not fail in 2007. It's Case, WR Case & Son. Once again, I'm just going to show you 3 knives. You got the Barlow here. I've done a video on that. The Junior Scout, done videos on that too. And then the last one here is a rust lock. Rust lock you only find in the Case lineup, which is kind of pretty cool. And it's an interesting knife. A lot of people call it the Woody Woodpecker knife because of the way the blade shape looks. And you've got this little rocker in the back, this extended tang, which brings the blade all the way open. Once you have a lot of practice on this, you can actually open and close it one-handed because of that. You got the liner lock here, you push it over and it closes, obviously. But you don't see anyone else making a rust lock other than Case, which is kind of cool. And that's usually what I look for in the Case lineup, are knives that I'm not seeing in other lineups. So the rust lock would be one of them, the Junior Scout's another one. But also, they have knives that come in and out of their vault. I know what the vault system is about. The vault system is a marketing ploy so that they can limit the production on popular knives, and also increase the popularity of the lesser brands and increase sales. I get it. But if that's what it takes to keep a USA made company alive, I'm all for it. Now, a lot of people complain about the quality of Case knives, but to me, the Case knives of today are the best quality for the price that you're paying for them. Yes, you can get a lower priced USA made traditional slip joint, but the quality is not going to be there. It's not going to be, you're not getting your money's worth out of them. And the same thing with some of the higher priced American-made slip joints. The quality might be better, but at what cost? You know, and is that cost so much that it actually puts it out of the limits of most collectors? The case knives, they really are designed for collectors, but many of them are also very usable and quite good for the price. And so I can picture plenty of people picking up, for instance, the case sod buster, which is dirt cheap, you know, $20, $30 tops here in the United States. And it's a great work knife, and you're going to get a really long life out of it. So case knives is my another favorite brand. I'm not saying it's number 2, but it falls within the top 5. This brings us to probably the most recognized brand in the world, Victorinox, Swiss Army knives. This is the first one I ever got. It's a woodsman, looks kind of like a hunter, and I used it for a good 20 years. This was my everyday carry forever, it seemed. You can't tell there, but the tip of this pin blade got a little nick in it, so I had to reprofile it. This is one of the older ones with those scissors with the screw in there, and you go up and down enough and that screw will loosen up, but that's okay. I got used to that. You can see also that the spring broke, but I fixed it so it could still work. I could also replace the spring. I've replaced springs on Swiss Army knives before, but all in all, this thing works just as good as when I first got it, despite the little things that have gone wrong with it. This is the woodsman. It's like the hunter, except no toothpick or tweezers. There's another nick. You can see all the nicks. I mean, I beat the crap out of this knife, and it's like an old Timex watch, just keeps on ticking, doesn't go bad. And then, you know, you got so many other things in the Victorinox line, like the 111 millimeter knives. This is the Hunter. Really like this knife. I like the little gutting blade on it. I like the slide lock. I love slide locks on the 111 millimeter knives. A lot of people don't, but I think it just keeps the weight down. And Swiss Army knives, they make some of the best saws you'll ever find on a knife, especially on the 111 millimeter versions. Nice long saw. You can do more work with this saw than you'll ever do batoning with any kind of knife blade or anything. So just love that too. And then I collect the 58 millimeters. I obviously just recently did a video on this. This is the last one I picked up for the moon landing, but I love collecting them because they're inexpensive, and you can get such a variety on them, and it's just like little pocket candy. So Swiss Army knives, if it's not somebody's favorite, I don't know what they're doing. Just a fantastic knife to have. Everyone should own at least one 91 millimeter Swiss Army knife and at least one 58 millimeter classic SD. It needs to be in any collection out there. Plus, it's just a knife that is so versatile and so useful. You just need to have one just to use. This brings us up to Rough Rider. This is a particular one I really like. It's in tortoiseshell. It is, what did they call it? The liner lock work knife. Anyone who looks at it knows what it is. It is a sod buster with a liner lock. And this actually began life as a case pattern. It has since been adopted into the Rough Rider line. Case doesn't make it anymore. And that's what Rough Rider does. They take a lot of old patterns that no one makes anymore, and they bring them back out. And I believe it was Knives Illustrated that actually said that Rough Rider traditional patterns knives that were probably the best bang for your buck when it came to slip joint knives. And a lot of people swear by them as everyday carry knives, and that's because the quality is there. They are well made. Look at that, you can see there. It's just a well made knife, right up there with Case as far as I'm concerned. The price is low because they are made in China. Some of them are even made in Pakistan, some of their fixed blades, but just a real quality knife. My only complaint with them is they only make a scout knife and red jig bone and amber jig bone, and they've only made 5 large toothpicks, and I'm a person who collects both scout knives and toothpicks, and Rough Rider doesn't make enough of them. With that said, I've got well over 100 Rough Rider knives, and I love them. They do what they're supposed to do. They cut stuff, and they stay sharp as long as a case knife does, and they work as well as that. You know, the steel, it's 440A. They don't make a secret about that. I guess they do kind of make it sound like it's a great steel when they say 440A, stainless steel, HRC, 56, blah, blah, blah. But at least you know what you're getting with that. Whereas with case, you got true sharp stainless steel. What is that? Well, it's a surgical steel. What is that? I still don't know what it is. Hint is that it's either a 425M or a 420HC or just a plain old 420. At least with Rough Rider, I know I've got a 440A stainless steel. I know what I can do with that. I can know how I can work it. Variety is there. Well over 100 knives. A couple of them I have duplicates of maybe 2 or 3 knives, but no 2 are exactly alike, which is just fantastic. And when it comes to introducing yourself to new patterns, you can't beat a Rough Rider. So that's why it's one of my top favorite brands. So far we've got 4. We've got Camillus, we've got Case, we've got Victorinox, and we got Rough Rider. 4 brands. So what's number 5? You tell me. I don't really know. I suppose I could go with Great Eastern, but this is the only Great Eastern knife I've got. I do like it. It's a well-made knife, but for the most part, Great Eastern knives are a little bit out of my price range. That's why I only have one of them. I got this one for a lowball bid on eBay. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have this one. I, for the most part, don't go around spending $80 to $120 for a pocket knife, a slip joint knife. I get that it has 1095 carbon steel in the blade. This has got nice stag on it and everything. And I know they're made in small batches, and I know a lot of people swear by them, but it's just a little bit too much for me price-wise to be considered one of my favorite brands. Oh, you know what? I want to move these over, and let's put this here so you guys get to see other things. Another great brand, and I really do love these knives, and these are Meyer Urchin. Meyer Urchin makes probably the best marlin spike knife that you're going to get for under $100. This one is one of the crew knives. Coca-Cola handle or babinga wood, whatever you want to call it. You got the locking marlin spike and the locking blade, this time with a liner lock. This is easy to open with one hand. I'm using both, but easy to open and close both hands. Meyer Urchin just makes a fantastic knife. The thing is the only knives that Meyer Urchin really makes are marlin spike knives. They're made by a sailor for sailors. So if you're looking for a great marlin spike knife, if that's what you're collecting and everything, you're not going to be anywhere. You can't beat a Meyer Urchin. They're just fantastic knives. But the limited number of knives made by them kind of makes it hard to make it one of my favorite marlin spike knife. Yes. Favorite top 5 brand, not quite. That brings us to Queen, another company that went out of business, a USA made company that went out of business. I can't argue with the quality of a Queen knife. They really made good knives. Usually they use D2 in the steel for the blades. Sometimes they use 420 high carbon depending on what they're doing. This is a little prototype. I've done a video on this already. But the only Queen knives that I ever collected were the toothpicks, the large toothpicks, and the fish knives. And it's once again, it was because they were just a little too cost prohibitive to me for the quality that I was getting. Really solid, well-made knives. I think if I were to choose between the two, I would have probably gone with Queen over Great Eastern. But again, paying you know, $70–80 for a knife is something I just cannot do all the time. So that's why I passed on Queen and went with Case instead. And that's probably why Case is still around and Queen isn't. They made a better knife, but for the price, it was hard to justify paying that price, even for the quality that you were getting in a Queen, at least in my opinion. Now I could also throw up about I don't know, a good 20 or 30 knives by Imperial or Colonial, but you would see that just about every one of them is a fish knife or a scout knife. And I don't collect the Imperial and Colonial knives other than the fish knives and the scout knives and the large toothpicks. And the reason I don't collect them is because I don't think the quality is there. They were an economy brand way back when, and the only reason I have any of them is because of the pattern, not because of the company. So I can't really include Imperial or Colonial as one of my top favorite brands, even though I've got quite a few of them. Same thing goes with companies like Rogers out of England. I like the knife, and I think it's a quality built knife. Rogers makes a really great knife. I don't know if Rogers is still around or not, but when it came to marlinspike knives like this one, the Yachtsman, bar none, a top-notch knife for what you're getting. But again, I bought it for the pattern. I didn't buy it because of who was making it. And that even brings us to like this barn door hinge toothpick by Winchester. I didn't buy this knife because it was made by Winchester. I bought it because it was a barn door hinge toothpick. I've got 3 of them now, all of them by Winchester, and they are solid, well-made knives, so I'm sure Winchester does a great knife. But I would have to buy more Winchester knives before I could actually say, yeah, this is one of my favorite brands. So I can't choose Winchester as a top brand either. And that goes for another 2 brands that I'm going to show you here that are really great brands out of Europe. Got this one here from Boker, Germany. It's a little pen knife. Again, I bought it because it's one of these animal scene pen knives on the nickel silver bolsters. And this knife is as smooth as silk. It just works so well. No doubt Boker makes a great knife, but they are also kind of expensive, so I don't think I'll be picking up a lot of Boker knives. I have noticed that they make knives in tortoiseshell, so this might all change my mind once I pick up a couple Bokers in tortoiseshell. If they prove to be as nice as this little pen knife, Boker could easily end up being a top 5 for me. But right now, they're still on the fence. And that goes along with this knife here by Mercury. This is a company out of Italy, I believe. Let me see. Is Mercury Italy? Yeah, Italy. Don't know enough about the brand, but nice stag handles on it. I like the fact that it's got a fork over here instead of a little instead of a pen blade. Otherwise, it's a knockoff of a Swiss Army knife in many ways. You've got the same tools going on, different style of can opener, but still a can opener there. But definitely one of my favorite knives. A little crack there, but genuine stag. I think it is actually elk antler is what they said, but really great knife by Mercury. I've only got 2 Mercury knives. If I had more of them, I might be considering them a top 5 also. Right now, I'm just on the fence because I don't have enough of them. And that brings us to this knife, which is the Spyderco Dragonfly 2. And I actually have 2 knives by Mercury. I have 2 knives by Spyderco and one by their economy brand Bird. So I don't have a whole lot of Spydercos either. But the thing is I really fell in love with the Dragonfly here, and I carry it all the time and use it all the time. I just like how smooth the action is and everything else. I use it daily. I like the lockup on it. I like the fact that it's basically just a slip joint, just like all of these other knives you're seeing here. Well, it does have a lock on the back, but you saw a couple liner locks in here and everything else. So it's still a very traditional style of knife, even though it is a modern folder. It's been around for about 25 years, the Dragonfly. But I just really like it and use it all the time. And the fact that I carry it all the time versus all these other knives that are just sitting around kind of makes it fall into my top 5 list, even though I don't have a lot of them. But and I don't even think I'm ever going to buy any other type of Spyderco knife. I can picture myself picking up more Dragonflies because I really like it, and there's a couple other varieties of Dragonflies out there. So it's kind of strange. I don't know if it's truly a top 5 or not, but it's the closest thing to a top 5 I have right now. So that would mean this would be my list of top 5 knives right now. Let's move this away. We got a Spyderco, a Rough Rider, Victorinox, Case, and Camillus. Will it change? Who knows? It depends on if something can knock the Spyderco out. Considering it's kind of standing alone as a one knife, one wonder, it's kind of odd compared to the other knives in this group. Got probably close to 40 or 50 Case knives, well over 100 Rough Riders, well over 100 Victorinox knives, and if I don't have 100 Camillus knives, it would be very close to 100. But so this one is kind of standing all alone, and it's kind of an odd mix with the rest of them. But that would be it. Spyderco, Camillus, Case, Victorinox, and Rough Rider. Love to hear what your top 5 are, and if you've got some odd man out in your group or not also, like I do with the Spyderco. But I really do love it. It works well, and I like it as much as I like these other 5, and a little bit better than some of the other brands I showed. Well, I guess that's a bit of a shocker. I mean, Camillus, Case, Victorinox, and Rough Rider, those are all very predictable from me. But Spyderco? I mean, seriously? A Spyderco? It's a modern folder. Yeah, but it's a modern folder that is basically just a slip joint, just like all the other traditional patterns that I picked. And it's a knife that I use and carry all the time. And I find it practical. It's a great pocket carry, so that's why this is here, even though I only own 2 Spydercos and a Bird. I'm thinking about picking up more Dragonflies. Will I pick up other Spydercos? I don't see it being a big brand of mine, but then there's a lot of other knives that I have that are also, I don't have a lot of, but are good quality knives. So it was hard for me to choose a number 5. Case, Camillus, Victorinox, and Rough Rider, those were easy for me to choose. But when it came down to a number 5, I've got a lot of knives that I got a lot of that are just so-so, and I got a lot of knives that I have 1 or 2 of that are really great, but the only brand that I carry constantly other than the other 4 is the Spyderco, and that's why it's number 5. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Knife Chats, and if you did, please like and share it with your friends. Comments are always welcome. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode of Knife Chats is up online. Thanks again. Hope to see you soon.